Today's youth have a ton of issues they have to face daily, not the least of which is school shootings. Despite the constant threat of harm they live under, or perhaps because of it, there are teens and young people today who think they're above the law. That sheer audacity is well represented by the following cases, in which teens are defiant or even combative with law enforcement. DUI Daredevil. Our first case takes place in Maricopa, Arizona, and centers on Kioa Thomas, a 20-year-old who found herself in a little bit of a predicament after someone reported her Chevy Camaro in a ditch. What could have been a simple interaction ended up devolving into something much more. The footage begins with a cop walking up to the stranded Camaro. Then the officer makes contact with the inhabitants of the vehicle who state that their car swerved off the road due to messed up tires.
Swerved off the road?
Who did?
Me.
At first, the unnamed male in the driver's seat claims to have been driving, but then the female in the passenger seat, Keo, admits she was driving when the incident occurred.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna need you to come out of the vehicle and talk with me then.
The information and the way they're handling the interaction is already suspicious, as they would have had to switch seats in the vehicle before the police arrived. The officer asks Thomas to step out of the vehicle and she complies.
Alright, so tell me what happened.
At one point, the officer asks her if she'd like to rest on the vehicle and she responds with, "Arrest?" clearly giving away the subject at the front of her mind.
Do you need to rest on the vehicle?
Rest?
Do you need to rest on the vehicle?
The officer then asks how much she's had to drink, entirely skipping the question of if she had anything to drink in the first place.
How much have you had to drink today?
Not that much, but my car been up, like, I'm finna move back to my mom's house and stuff like that.
Okay.
And
So
it just been breaking down, like, I don't know, like, if it's just what's going on, but, like, everything, it's just been coming to like a crash, like, everything has just been coming to a crash.
Okay.
He likely didn't have to due to her appearance and speech pattern. The cop asks Thomas which way she was coming from when she swerved off the road. She proceeds to make a confusing hand motion, seeming to indicate that she took her car off-road before ending up in the ditch. When the cop begins putting the pieces of information together, the man shouts at Thomas from the car, telling her she doesn't have to talk.
This one.
You coming from there?
Yeah.
What are you talking to him?
Okay. What do you mean when she talks? She has to talk to me.
No, she does.
Yes, she does.
Hey, you don't have to talk to him.
If he'd told her this earlier, it would have been one thing, but yelling it at her as she's beginning to reveal the truth about what happened definitely draws suspicion. Thomas shows clear signs of being upset at this point, with her arms crossed and tears beginning to form in her eyes. The officer asks her what's wrong several times, but she seems almost afraid to speak or respond. Then the man pokes his head out of the car to keep an eye on her, and she gets even more distressed, eyes shifting before she turns her head away to break into tears.
Why you back here just staring at me, man?
I'm trying to make sure she cool.
How would she not be cool?
She crying?
Yeah, because you know she messed up. That's why. Come on, let's walk up here. Let's get off this dirt, okay? Hold my hand.
The officer offers his hand to help her out of the ditch, and they move to the street to question her more, effectively separating her from the male subject. The officer asks her again how fast she was driving, and she shrugs the question off, saying not that fast, before going on another tangent to distract from it.
How fast were you driving?
I was driving that fast. It went out. I barely have gas in my car.
Huh?
So it didn't go out like that. I barely have gas in my car.
When she's asked how much she had to drink again, she responds this time with, "I don't know."
How much have you had to drink?
I don't know.
Her words begin to slur at this point as she tells the officer that she doesn't want anything to happen to the man, who it turns out is her boyfriend.
Well, nothing's necessarily going to happen to him, but we're trying to find out what's going on, right?
Then she offered another explanation for what happened, saying her car ran out of gas. She repeats, "I don't want to pay $5" several times, referring to the gas for her car. By the end of this part of the encounter, she seems almost dazed, beginning to giggle as she says, "I don't want to pay $5."
I'm worried about you and your
I don't want to pay
intoxication
$5.
level.
I don't want to pay $5. I don't want to pay $5.
The footage cuts to the two cops putting Thomas in handcuffs, and then cuts one more time to officers attempting to place her in the backseat of their vehicle. It's worth noting that up until this point, she'd been completely compliant and forthcoming. That compliance doesn't last much longer.
According to her.
What's her name?
I don't know her name yet.
I have to pee.
Her picture kind of looks like it. Man, there's no place out here. I gotta take you to the station to pee.
Let me pee right there.
No.
I swear, I don't want to pee on myself.
Let's go.
I don't want
can't
to
let you pee
on
right here.
myself.
We'll get you.
No place.
We'll get you back to the station. You can pick.
As the officers try to get her to sit in the back seat, Thomas states that she has to pee. This is the first time she's mentioned it, and it seems she only began insisting after she was to be transported away from the scene. With this development, her entire demeanor changes, and it only gets worse from there.
I need your name. What's your name?
Man!
What is your name? You'll get more charges.
Man!
When she's asked to identify herself, Keo becomes combative with the officers, refusing to answer their questions. In the midst of that, her story changes once more to say that she wasn't driving the Camaro in the first place, the boyfriend was.
You're driving under the influence.
I wasn't driving. Why? I was not driving. My boyfriend was driving. Right? She never said I was driving under the influence.
The attitude goes up after that, and now she's downright defiant to the officers handling her while her mental state appears to worsen.
No, because at this point, no. I
thought you had a
CTO
pink.
manager. Yeah, at this point I don't. You know why? Because that's just a bunch of bullshit.
Okay.
She refuses to put her legs inside the vehicle so they can shut the door, and she tells the cops she has a camera recording their encounter despite having her arms restrained. As police force her inside so they can close the car door, she continues to fight and screams for her boyfriend. The footage cuts to after they arrive at the police station. The officer puts on latex gloves as you can hear Thomas kicking on the police car door from the inside. When they open the door, a portion of the footage has been censored over Thomas's body, indicating that she's in some level of undress. Then we see the cops take Thomas into a cell where she wishes for the death of multiple members of the officers' families before telling them they're going to die. They then lock the cell door as Thomas begins to scream bloody murder. When all said and done, Thomas was charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, to which she pled guilty. Instead of going to jail, her plea agreement called for 18 months of probation under supervision. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be the last time Thomas was pulled over. At 3 a.m. on December 11th, just 9 months later, police stopped a vehicle traveling northbound in a southbound lane of North John Wayne Parkway. Yep, it was Keo Thomas, and in addition to showing obvious signs of intoxication, police also found an open wine bottle on the floor of the passenger side. Aggression in Akron. Now we move to Akron, Ohio, where officers of the Akron Police Department have bitten off more than they can chew. On July 30th of 22, around 11:30 p.m., the gun violence response team of the Akron Police Department stopped an SUV inside the parking lot of an apartment complex in the Joy Park neighborhood. What they found in the vehicle will shock you. 5 teenagers with 5 loaded guns. An undoubtedly dangerous situation, but the teenagers in question weren't the worst part about the encounter. It was the bystanders.
What you gonna do? What you gonna hit me? What you gonna hit me?
The chest cam footage is highly edited and consists of 3 different perspectives from 3 different officers. The first perspective we see is an officer who arrived on the scene after most of the commotion had settled down. He walks up to the SUV in question and sees the weapons in the back of the car before returning to his own police cruiser. The same officer then has a relatively cordial encounter with a teenage girl who's being detained for questioning and her older sister who's not considered part of the situation.
Multiple firearms in the vehicle, we have to figure out what's going on.
I don't know, but he said nothing's gonna happen because I don't know what's going on.
Oh, okay.
We just gotta figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So just have a seat.
He said that they're gonna just just let me go after they're done doing it.
Alright, that's my sister. I'm just trying to figure out
Should be alright.
Okay.
There's just a lot of guns in the car. We gotta figure out what's going on.
Okay.
If you mind kicking your feet in, I'll roll down the window and you can talk there if you want.
The older sister is just looking out for her sibling, and all parties appear to be calm and level-headed. The officer even rolls down the rear window so the sisters can communicate freely and feel safe. A few residents of the area seem to be concerned for the detainee, but there's no outright hostility at this point. That is, until this guy shows up. Tensions start to rise as the distant teen makes lewd gestures and statements while yelling at the cop doing the recording. The footage then cuts to the officer walking away from the scene, getting in the car, and leaving while a crowd of teens record on their phones and make comments. The footage cuts again, and now we're seeing the situation from a new perspective, which appears to be earlier on in the encounter, judging by the lack of commotion.
Why? Do you know? Why? Okay. Why? Do you know? Do you know? What you gonna do? What you gonna hit me? What you gonna hit me?
The majority of this section of the footage documents several officers' interactions with a group of teens who allegedly don't know anything about the situation, but are immediately combative towards the cops.
I don't know what the fuck noon is, bro. Shut up and solve some murders. Detective, solve some murders. Hey, shut up. Do your job.
After some time and a lot of abuse, the situation is cleared and the officers move on while the teens continue to berate them. The footage cuts again to a new perspective, and we're back with the car from the beginning of the footage with the detained girl.
So one of the officers that made the initial stop just wants to talk to you about the people in the car.
The cops are taking the detainee for questioning by the officer who initially pulled the SUV over, who was relocated, likely due to the situation at the apartments. The next portion of the video has no audio, only showing several parked police vehicles while an officer walks up to the detainee's vehicle. Then the audio comes back as the cop uncuffs the detainee and explains that she's not being charged with anything.
Hey dear, go ahead, step on when I cuff you. So you're not being charged with anything, okay?
Okay.
But we're just gonna get you home or something.
Okay.
What's your address, like where your guardian lives, your mom or your dad?
She's at work right now.
The remainder of the footage is cordial. A cop explains to the second detainee the dangers of running with certain crowds and recommends that she stays away from the people she was with that night.
Listen, I'm going to jail till this is filed. There's people out, the wrong folk. People out to shoot them. If you're next to them, you might get shot yourself.
Right? Are you staying on Minson? Or
Yes.
Okay. Your friend is in the back of our car. We're just gonna give you guys a ride back home.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Right there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a nice night.
You too.
Both teens are driven back to their homes and the footage ends. Of the 5 teens in the car, only one 17-year-old was arrested and charged with 2 counts of carrying concealed weapons, as well as 2 counts of having weapons under disability. No charges were brought up against the bystanders. Impersonating a police officer in Oklahoma. This next one's a doozy. 19-year-old Jackson Jones decided to kick off 2023 with a bang. On New Year's Day, he was stopped by police for impersonating a sheriff's deputy and pulling cars over in his personal vehicle. The footage starts with officers walking up to Jones's Kia and questioning him if he has any weapons on him. He's wearing a police cap and vest and claims to be a deputy sheriff working corrections for the Campbell County Sheriff's Office in Tennessee, an entirely different state. He also confirms that the vehicle is his own.
Are you wearing the vest? Well, like I said, I drove from all the way from Tennessee, but I'm not gonna have people call me when I don't even live in this damn state. Okay. It's gonna piss me off.
You're a deputy sheriff?
Well, I mean, I work at the sheriff's office.
Okay.
So, I mean, what?
Were you a corrections officer for
Yeah.
the sheriff's office? Okay. Why do you wear a vest outside of the facility? Is this an agency vehicle, or is this your personal vehicle?
This is my Kia.
Jones begins to make his case that he gets pulled over all the time in different places for wearing the police gear, but he just likes wearing it.
All they say is, it's just odd, I never see it. I was
Right.
like, well, I mean, like, well, guess what? Yeah, I like wearing it, just like in Tennessee. I got pulled over for it, and guess what?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's against the law or anything, it's just...
And I've even
odd.
had it.
When an officer asks him for some form of employment identification, Jones claims to not have any kind. They don't give you that when you work at the jail, he says, which is a ludicrous statement for someone supposedly working as a law enforcement officer.
You don't have like an access card or an ID badge or anything for the facility that you work at?
I don't.
The cop goes back and forth with Jones about his vest and sheriff patch as the teen continues to deflect. He doesn't have a weapon on him, but wearing the equipment makes it an open and shut case for impersonating an officer, and an open container of alcohol is spotted in the vehicle with him.
You're wearing a patch that says sheriff.
Okay.
That's impersonating law enforcement.
I wore it all the time at the jail before, though.
Okay, well that might be true and fine within the jail, but when you come out to public, you don't have any arrest powers. You're not commissioned.
I'll just,
Do you understand?
I understand that. I didn't understand what you're talking
And you got alcohol in the vehicle.
Well, it's not mine.
Well, that's beside the point.
It's my girlfriend.
But,
And I don't drink, so...
well, it doesn't matter. You realize transporting open container, if any of that's opened or partially missing, that it doesn't matter whose it is. If you're in the vehicle with it, you can be arrested for transporting open container.
He claims it belongs to his girlfriend, but that doesn't matter in the eyes of the law. Later, Jones explains his living situation. He allegedly works in Tennessee, but is trying to move to Oklahoma where his mother lives.
I live up here with my mom, so I can be a cop up here because she lives up here, and I'm trying to be a cop, but
And you're 19?
Yeah, I'm 19, but they won't let me be. They don't. I've already put applications in, but I still got residents down there in Tennessee, obviously.
Right.
You know, I got address on there.
Consequently, he's also in the area to visit his mother. In that exchange, Jones admits that he's trying to be a cop in Oklahoma, a seemingly inconsequential statement that turns out to be a peek into his mind. One of the reasons for the questioning was an exchange that happened between Jones and another man in a truck. As Jones explains it, the man in the other car made eye contact with him and left, so he got out of his car to ask if he needed help.
Looked at me. That's all I did. I never said anything like law enforcement wise or nothing. He looked at me and he was laughing, so I just like go to his car and I was like, "Did you need me or something like that?" That's it. And I just like walked away.
Okay.
I mean, I don't. That's all I did, man. I'm being
So
serious.
you were just in the driveway and he was just looking at you?
I got out of my car, I'm gonna go inside.
Oh,
And he
okay.
looked at me, and then I just went up to his truck. I was like, "Oh, dude." And then he just said, "I was just looking at you, man." So I was just looking at your car. That was it. And you can watch the videotape on McDonald's.
Jones gives the officer permission to search his car, so he exits, removes his vest, and the search commences. Not much of consequence is found at first outside of the aforementioned containers of alcohol, unless you consider bags of Chick-fil-A to be criminal. A short time later, another officer shows up to explain the information he was able to gather by questioning people at the scene.
Okay, so RP says he didn't actually see anybody, him stop and talk to anybody, like, he was parked into a parking spot. He seen the kid walking around the parking lot a little bit, looked over at him. They kind of made eye contact for a minute. He started kind of giggling because of the way he was acting. He looked inside of his car like he was looking for something. They got in, then got out and came over to his truck and was like, what's so funny? What are you doing? Just being kind of an ass.
Apparently, Jones was walking around the parking lot in all of his sheriff gear, which is what prompted the man in the truck to laugh at him. According to the man in the truck, Jones approaches the vehicle with an aggressive tone and claims to be carrying out a traffic stop despite no other vehicle being around.
One empty bottle, one partially missing bottle, and then 2 more to go, and it was a pack of 6.
He looks like he's been driving for a bit.
Right. Just all kinds of red flags, man. I would not drive in Tennessee with a vest carrier on.
No.
Or even a duty belt on.
The police then move over to the car to request contact information for his supervisor, but Jones had other things on his mind.
Like I said, it's not in my possession, right?
It is in your possession. It's in your car. We're not looking to take you to jail, but
we're not looking to do
we
that.
want to talk to a supervisor.
I don't care if you take the whole shit from me, like the vest and shit. I don't care if you take it. I mean, that'll keep me out of trouble.
But we want to talk to a supervisor.
I mean, it's on my phone.
In your phone? Alright, I'll go grab it.
The 2 officers manage to calm him down and retrieve his phone so he can give them the supervisor's phone number. With the number retrieved, the officers make the call. They end up leaving a voicemail for the contact, but further investigation of Jones's phone and pay stubs reveals interesting information.
Right there. It's okay. I'll put you down as a reference for the jail. So I don't know if Jacob actually works at jail, but it doesn't sound like he actually does. Unless he got hired on within like the last 2 weeks.
124 Cumberland. Yeah, it's not even the same address for him.
The pay stub is legit, but the home address doesn't match the one the officers have, and it doesn't appear that he was working there for very long. The footage cuts and now we see the officer questioning 2 people in a car who had encountered Jackson earlier. The information they give police is damning.
He goes, I'm a undercover cop for Wellston. And I run, my partner, I run with the highway patrolman out of Wellston. Okay. And I said, so, just be curious, you look pretty young, how old are you? He goes, I'm 22 years old, just turned 22. I was like, man, you're pretty young to be a cop, be an investigator. And then when he left, he came towards, by the bridge on a turnpike bridge. And he took the U-E and was trying to pull another car, he started flashing his lights at him.
Really?
And I didn't know if they pulled over or not, but he was flashing his lights like he was trying to pull them over.
It turns out Jackson wasn't sitting in his car innocently, but was actually knowingly impersonating a police officer by pulling people over in his own car. The police cuff him and charge him with impersonating a police officer, as well as having an open container of alcohol.
You're under arrest for impersonating law enforcement, alright? And then you also have a charge for transporting an open container.
The officers get a written statement from the people who were pulled over by Jones, and much of the rest of the footage consists of the police continuing to search through his car, uncovering a small amount of money and a large amount of mess along with his police gear. Jackson's car is then towed, and he's transported to the detention center where he was booked. Gamercaf. Our last case for this video is kind of a fun one. On January 5th, heavily armed police arrived at the home of a 17-year-old teen prepared for a violent confrontation.
Prior missing juvenile on a request for a subject named Tracy Connor as the caller. Like different phone numbers for both.
10-4, we got contact. Male juvenile coming out talking to us.
The reason? He butt dialed 911.
Is everyone inside okay?
Body cam footage of the incident shows officers posted up at various angles in tactical gear, preparing for the suspect to exit their house. When the 17-year-old boy opens his garage and walks out, at least 3 assault rifles are pointed at him. Not a good situation to be in.
Do us a favor, turn around. Turn around. Turn around, you got me covered? Alright, just put your hands behind your back. I'm not going to cuff you right now. Do you have any weapons on you or anything sharp?
When the teen comes into frame, he's wearing lounge clothes and socks with no shoes. Police tell him to turn around, they pat him down, and the situation seems basically diffused already. He's being 100% compliant, and while obviously very nervous, who wouldn't be when guns are pointed at you? A distant cop is heard asking if the teen was playing video games, to which he replies yes. The game in question, Rainbow Six Siege.
Okay, so this was just an accident, you called 911? Did you say you killed 2 people or something like that?
Rainbow Six Siege, I had my headset on.
Okay, how old are you?
17.
Apparently, the reason for the intense police presence was that he butt dialed 911 and the operator overheard him saying, "I killed 2 people." A heinous thing to say out loud if true, but not uncommon in the slightest when playing a competitive online shooter. He's home alone, his parents are at work, and it's already very clear that this is a pretty funny misunderstanding. The teen, who tells police his name is Elijah, calls his mom to fill her in on the situation.
Mom, yeah, there are 4 of them right here. I was playing the game, I had my headset on, and I butt dialed the police officer on accident. And I was in the game, you know how after I'm in the game, and so 4 of them came here.
After Elijah gets his mom up to speed, the officer then speaks to her to ask permission to search the house.
Hey, is this Elijah's mom?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, so what happened is, I guess he's saying that he was playing a video game, and in the process of accidentally calling 911, he said that he killed 2 people, but he was talking about on the game. So we thought that there was a double murder, so we showed up to your house with a bunch of us. That's why we're here talking to your son, okay? So there's nothing to be worried about, okay?
Yeah, I got a call.
Yeah, we're just trying to, we're just doing our due diligence here, trying to figure everything out and make sure that everybody's okay, because we have to do that when we get a 911 call. So
Right.
we just wanted to inform you. Are you nearby or no?
No, I'm in Highland Heights at work.
Okay, well, we would like to just check out the inside of the house, if that's okay, just to make sure that...
Did you put the dogs away?
Yeah, your son was telling us that the dogs need to be put up first, so I just wanted to talk to you before, so we can get your permission, okay?
Yep, that's totally fine.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much.
Elijah's already warned that he has German Shepherds, one of which isn't friendly, but he goes into the house ahead of the cops to put them away so they can complete their search. From this point, the footage is completely pixelated, so the privacy of Elijah and his family is preserved. He's not a criminal after all, just a mid-siege player. The rest of the encounter is audio only, but you can tell that the cops have taken a liking to Elijah and are only doing their due diligence in searching the premises.
Boone County Sheriff's Office, anybody in here? Hey, I'm going upstairs. Boone County Sheriff's Office, anybody upstairs?
After the search is complete, the police on the scene get a little more information from Elijah before palling around with him. They ask where he goes to school, talk about his dogs, and his Rainbow Six skills.
Do you go to Cooper?
I'm going to
Boone?
I was in a different school, but now I'm going to a meeting on Friday to go to Boone.
Oh, to go. Okay, so you will be going to Boone soon. Okay. Are those both German Shepherds?
Yes, sir.
I like German Shepherds.
They're pretty cool. They shed a lot, but they're alright.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I've had 2 in my time.
Where are you playing?
Siege.
You any good?
I'm level 106, so.
Well, you killed 2 people. So.
Yeah, you killed 2 people.
In another funny moment, Elijah describes realizing what was going on.
Yeah, I walked over there and saw 2 cop cars, and I looked over here and I saw something.
Oh, shit. What did I do? Did I miss school?
That guy over there.
Damn. They were serious about that.
That guy over there scared the hell out of me, but
sorry you had to deal with this. I appreciate you being cool with
Yeah.
us. If you have any questions or you want to shoot the breeze with us one day, just give us a call, man.
And with that, the incident was over. The only damage done was likely to Elijah's underwear when he stepped outside to police in assault gear. Before the footage cuts off, we get one more snippet of an officer explaining to the neighbors what had happened, managing to spare the embarrassing details while still conveying the situation.
They had a break-in though?
No. You guys familiar with what swatting is? Yeah, there's some kid playing video games, and it appears to be something similar to that. So it's not going to be a big deal, but we're going to figure the rest of that out.